It looks like we're on. Okay, welcome everybody. Welcome to Fluid Night. Tonight, let's see, where's my... Thank you for being patient with me while I try to figure this out here. I've never gone live from this phone before. I couldn't figure out, Aspen's not here with us tonight, and I couldn't figure out how to get it going. But it looks like it's actually working. So, let me turn this off one fast second, y'all. Okay. Tonight is going to be a little bit different because we've been learning stuff. We've been learning new things about what to do from an effectiveness and efficiency standpoint. This is going to be a different kind of Surrender Lab session. I have been working with Surrender Lab now for the past 6+ years, 6.5 years, something like that. And Surrender Lab just popped into my head one day when I had just first learned how to meditate. And I went to try to ask all the people around me that I knew were the most advanced meditators what next, because I discovered something really cool about the concept of meditation. I found because I was such an all or nothing kind of a guy, I found this middle place inside myself where I said, okay, here I am. I'm at the very center. I'm at the center of everything. It feels like I know that at the very bottom of all of this now, I can see why I would want to live. Just not too long before that, there was several reasons why I could try to articulate about why I didn't want to live anymore. And my heart has never been more full than lately, because there are so many people that I know, friends, family, personal connections that I have, and I know that people are struggling with an identification with why they want to live. What is their reason for all this? What is their reasoning for even living? What's the reason to get up in the morning? Why? Why am I doing this? Well, going back to when I started Surrender Lab, I went and asked, what now? What's next? And I kept on getting told, well, just keep meditating. Just keep meditating. And I could tell that people didn't understand what I was saying, and I didn't see anything wrong with that. I didn't see anything negative about it. I had this new sense of clarity that helped me see that whoever I was asking, I could just see that they had unique experience in life. And that unique experience in life, I was just valuing, because all I saw before me was just beauty. All of a sudden, my eyes had been opened up to being able to see everything, and everything just seemed all of a sudden beautiful. Now, I'm not saying for the last 6.5 years that every single moment that I've had has felt beautiful, because I'm just a work in progress, just like we all are. But it was a moment in time where I had real good clarity opened up to me as to, hey, I can see now that everybody before me is actually my equal, and I have different skills than they have. They're not right or wrong to be living the way that they're living right now. If I just accept everything as it is, which is what meditation has started to teach me, was that I could get down to the very, very present moment and realize that everything's okay, and it's still always okay in the present moment. Here it's still the present moment and everything's still okay. And it's still the present moment and everything's still okay. And so I want to share something with you tonight that I feel is from an effectiveness and efficiency standpoint, out of all the time that I've spent so far being in the lab, call it Surrender Lab, I'll tell you more about that in a second, but from all the time that I've been doing it, experimenting with what kinds of breathing techniques seem to work for what kinds of things, discovered that there are certain things that I find help me the most. Now, what I don't want to presume is that it's going to help you the most. I just want to share my experience in the hope that it might have some sort of potential way of helping in any way to help you in your practice. So wherever you are in your practice, this word surrender hit me so hard in the beginning because I found out that until I'm surrendered, I'm not even really honest yet. Because everything is as it is, and it keeps on being as it is. Every present moment, everything just is as it is. And I realized, there was this realization that came upon me that I have to accept this. I have to fully receive the reality that everything is perfectly okay right here in the now. Now, my moral superior judge on the inside of me started having all kinds of red flags go off, like, well, no, it's not okay that this kind of stuff's happening on the planet, and it's not okay that this kind of stuff's happening. And I still have lots and lots to say about what's okay and what's not okay for us to be doing and not doing. But it doesn't come from a place of moral superiority like it used to when I was exclusive in my worldview. And I want to just say something about this real quick because I think it has everything to do with the present moment and surrender and meditation and learning to just accept everything as it is so that we can actually decide what kind of life we really want to have, getting meaning. I used to walk around exclusively thinking that everybody was going to come around to my special way of seeing things. Honestly, it was like this, now looking back at that kind of worldview, I could see how paralyzing it was. But nonetheless, it was my reality that I walked around literally thinking that everybody was going to come around to my special way of seeing things because I was gaining this new special, I had special information, and people were eventually going to come around to that. Well, I don't feel like that anymore because I started playing around with, well, what would it look like to not be exclusive then? Because when I was the most individual like that, it seemed like I was propping up self-sufficiency and individualism as this most important thing in my life. The most important thing I can do is be this independent self. And I still agree that we have to learn what it's like to be fully independent. And that requires what most of us look at and say, that's a selfish process, and I'm not going to be okay with that. The people who amongst us who don't have any empathy, they don't even seem to think there's anything wrong with it at all. And I'm not saying there's anything wrong with it, but it's by its very nature limiting. And that's what I came to the distinct awareness was that when my exclusive worldview was in full tilt, the filter that I was putting on the world around me was that everybody's eventually going to come around to my special way of seeing things. Inversely, or more expandedly, I like the idea now, and I've been practicing it for quite some time, to have an inclusive worldview. A worldview where everybody can be my teacher, and every moment can be instructive, and I can learn how to be receptive instead of resistant to the unique experience of others. The unique experience of others. I started to look around and I started to say, wow, you're the only one called you that has your experience in life. And I can lump you into all kinds of categories, but really you're the only one. And so what is the puzzle piece? And I started to gain glimpses of the individual specialness of the Ken Sullivan story. And so I started wanting to see what this specialness was in everybody else's individual story. And the more I've been practicing this inclusivity perspective, this inclusive worldview, seeing everybody as my teacher and every moment is instructive, just practicing it. I'm not perfect at this, but I love practicing it because of what it does for me. I feel like when I learn how to vibrate receptive, I get to add your uniqueness unto me. I get to become more of the thing that I'm trying to become simply because I actually am willing to actually receive you instead of resist you. And so tonight, in this Surrender Lab session, I want to show you from an effectiveness and an efficiency standpoint, what the fastest way is to tapping into what I call enjoyable living. Because the reason why I exist now is extremely clear to me. It's because I believe that every single one of us deserves to enjoy the living experience. We deserve to enjoy living. Now, many of us aren't making choices that we even believe that we deserve to enjoy living, but it's possible for all of us because we have limitless potential right before us, all right here in the present moment. If we learn how to surrender to everything as it is, then we start to become actually relatable. Then we know what it's like to have a fullness of what I am calling purity of heart. I used to have a very religious worldview, and in my scriptures, I read that blessed are the pure in heart, for they shall see God. And I haven't said those words to myself for a very long time because I left my religion, and in the beginning, for the first several years, I left the concept of believing anything. I didn't want to believe anything because, damn it, I believed all this stuff before, and I found out that I was believing something that wasn't necessarily true, and it was limited. Now, I want to take that back to say that it wasn't necessarily true because I have a very different perspective on my religiosity than I used to. I see it as a very valuable part of my life experience. The experience that I had going through the all or nothing mindset of I believe that what I believe is the absolute truth. And I believe that it's incumbent upon me to actually be doing this and doing it for real. And when I was religious, I was very pious about my approach. And I truly used to pray to my God and ask what at the end of each day, I would say, hey, what was it that I believed in? I was a Mormon, and I would pray in the name of Jesus Christ. I would be praying to my Heavenly Father, be praying to know, and I'd say, Heavenly Father, what would Jesus have done today? Or what did I do today that Jesus wouldn't have done? I would just have this, and I'd sit there and wait, and I'd let any kind of thoughts come into my head, and anything I could think of that I didn't feel like fit into my character, that I wanted to actually portray for myself and to build for myself, I would ask for forgiveness. And I felt like that was a very valuable process. I loved that process. I became very close with my God. And then subsequently to find out that things weren't exactly the way that I believed them, and I was being asked to believe a whole new narrative and to just accept that this was a great way to live, I couldn't do it because my integrity was screaming at me inside to just be more pure. And so I went on this mission to try to determine what the truth really is. I called myself addicted to the truth at the time. And even though those who know me know that I haven't walked like a perfect path because I've just been clunky. I've just been clunky Ken, and curious, and so like, all right, well, now that I know that it's not exactly the way that I thought it was, now I'm going to be willing to just do anything. And I've gone and done a lot of things now that I don't do anymore, that actually I don't look back and call them bad either, because I had built a lot of bandwidth, and I gained a lot of perspective from the types of things that I did. With that said, when I learned how to meditate, I found presence. And it changed my whole entire mental model of what I called success. I used to think success was how much money you could get and how much of the things in life that you wanted, that you could consume, the consumables, how much of that you could acquire. I used to have that kind of a worldview. And then for a whole host of reasons, I got tired of that worldview and tired of my own consumption. And this process of folding myself inward and trying to discover the self-discovery mode of like, hey, I really want to know what it's like to actually have a pure heart. Since I had lost my religiosity, I didn't have a mental model. I didn't have a mental model of what I was actually working toward. All I knew is that I was just trying to figure out what the truth was, and I was going to call bullshit on anybody who. And so it was, at first I had this violent way of approaching the whole concept to say, I would just challenge everybody's beliefs. Because, hey, can't you see what happened to me? And so I felt like it was, I was still in my proselyting mode of like feeling like it was necessary for me to go around and do that. Now I no longer feel like that, even though I'm sitting here going live right now. I have a very different reason for doing this now. I'm not proselyting anything. I'm actually just trying to share my unique experience in the hopes that it might help or give you any amount of aid whatsoever. Be any kind of helpful information whatsoever, because I do believe now in this concept I'm going to show you tonight, and that we can actually discover edges on the inside of us. Once we learn how to fully surrender and meditate in and go all the way inside of us, we can find these edges. And instead of being afraid of those edges, we can lovingly lean into them. And when we lovingly lean into our edges, and we take the time to do that, it builds all kinds of things. It builds patience. When I'm doing it, I'm in the middle of seeing everything with beauty, just like I talked about before. I can see that everybody around me looks like they have limitless potential too. And going back to that statement that I said where that scripture that I read where I said, blessed are the pure in heart, for they shall see God. I feel like that's a reality in my life now. I feel like I've actually purified my heart to the extent that for the vast majority of the day, most of the times all the day, I see everything before me as my teacher, and every moment is instructive. It's all here to help me. Even when I'm talking, I could be learning. And I see everybody before me as limitless potential, which is what I would call God. And so I see myself as God. I see you as God, and I see all of us with a different set of eyes than I used to. That model that I used to have of where success meant all these external things, I now equate success to my level of presence and enjoyment in life. So presence first, now I'm authentic, now I'm pure in my heart, and as soon as I go there, as soon as I actually feel like I'm just accepting everything as it is, I all of a sudden have all this new clarity on the types of things that I can do creatively to actually help the whole of humanity move towards something that's more beneficial for all of us. Because I can still see so many of us still believing in the concept that suffering is required. And I now know with definitively in my body, in my whole entire system, everywhere inside of me knows that suffering is completely an optional thing. Suffering is very optional. And I have suffered very little in the past little bit in my life. Because I have pushed and pushed and pushed against these internal edges and lovingly leaning against them, and then watching that edge become something different than an edge, because I actually become so familiar with it that it becomes my friend, and then I can actually crest over the edge and crash down on it, and all of a sudden I'm more flexible. My body's stronger and more flexible. So I've learned all kinds of things on the inside of me that I want to share here, because it's not hard. This process of actually learning how to enjoy life, it's not a hard process. It's just simply a process of learning how to be honest, accepting everything as it is, surrendering to the moment. Okay, it is what it is. Now I'm in a position of power to live the life that I want to live. And if I learn how to do that and become increasingly relatable, what I've learned is that my level of enjoyment goes up in direct proportion to how willing to collaborate I am and how much co-creating I'm doing. And so what we're really doing here at Surrender Lab is looking for more of our friends. Some of the close relationships that I have now have all come out of the idea that I've actually been leaning into this whole concept of doing Surrender Lab for the last 6.5 years. And my favorite people that I get to be around are the ones who are okay with me just being who I am. And it seems like they're actually receiving the benefits that I offer to humanity and them, and instead of just sitting there resisting them. I mean, who wants to be around somebody who doesn't want to be around them? I got to the point where I was like, okay, those people don't want to be around me. Why would I go inject myself upon them? Why would I need to do that? I want to honor their story. I want to honor exactly where they're at. So instead of focusing on telling on them about how appropriate or inappropriate what they're doing is, how about if I just learn how to become really authentic, be brave enough to be the authentic me? And then from there, look for co-creative opportunity. And as I've been doing that, life has become a lot more joyous. And so, without further ado, let's lean into a quick little exercise. I'm not going to go the full time. We normally do this for an hour. I'm going to keep this kind of short tonight because I want you just to be able to know how simple this really can be. There's nothing magical about this. It's every single person can access this. We can all access self-healing right here in the present moment because that's how it really works. We are our own healer. There's nothing outside of me that's going to heal me without my deciding to heal myself. I can use all kinds of things in my external world to help me heal myself, but I need to find out that I'm my own therapist. And when I self-discover all the way down to the point of the now, I find out that I am my own therapist. And so it's very helpful to go and talk to people. Very, very helpful to sit and have conversation and try to balance our ideas, and that's how we self-discover. Kudos to all of us that are trying to actually therapy through by doing that. But ultimately, the power lies within us. We wrote a paper recently juxtaposing true strength, inside, inward focus, to false empowerment, limited empowerment, feigned empowerment. Any amount of somebody saying, hey, this external thing is going to give you what it is that you want. There's nothing external that's going to give me more than what I can give to myself internally. That's true strength. True strength is understanding that me in full God status, in full king status, I see yours at the same exact time. I'm granting it to you with my inclusive worldview. And the way I get that is by actually leaning into my edges on the inside of me, finding out where I'm tight, where I've got stored up stuff, and I'm just going to let that stuff go. And so that's why meditation is so helpful. That's why breathing techniques are so helpful. They help us learn how to heal ourselves. So right now, if you're not already, go ahead and start and stand up and spread your legs a little bit wider than your shoulder width. Just a little tiny bit. It doesn't matter if your toes are pointed out or in, or just wherever it's really comfortable for you. And then bend your knees just slightly where you drop yourself down into what most people call like an athletic stance. Drop myself down in. And all of a sudden I'll start to feel that little bit of a burn in my quads and anywhere else in my body where I'm going to start to feel that tightness. Now don't drop in too much to where it's going to be really hard for you. Just drop in just enough to where you can feel your whole body. Now go ahead and move your body around a little bit. Stay dropped down like that, but move around and kind of shift your weight from toe to toe, from side to side, from foot to foot, and just get yourself in a position where you feel like you are in kind of like an athletic state, where it's like, hey, right now I'm kind of ready for anything. Go ahead and keep on going back and forth, and just get yourself accustomed to feeling your whole body all at once. Just feel everything in your body all connected at once. Put your hands together, squeeze them, feel how that feels in your shoulders and in your back and in your chest. Stretch your arms out. Just get your body connected to where you feel whole body connection. Now with this whole body connection, and this goes a little bit easier, especially if you're beginning doing this, doesn't matter who you are or how advanced in meditation you are, this is helpful for all of us. If you close your eyes, and while you're in this state, take a big, huge, deep breath in through your nose. And when you get all the way to the very top of this breath, I want you to take in even more air. We're going to take the air all the way up into our lungs from down here, feel it all the way up, and then go out as well. Go as big as you possibly can, maximize, and take a bigger breath than you've ever taken before. It kind of hurts a little bit because we're not used to doing this. There's a really serious advantage to doing this. If you take that breath in, go all the way in, and when you get there, Hold it in for 10 seconds. And when you let go of this breath, let go through your nose as well. Take a couple breaths if you need to. But now practice what it's like to go the other direction, where you're going to exhale everything, all the air that you have inside of you, all the way down to the very bottom. It's going to create a little bit of a vacuum down here. And this one's even more uncomfortable for most. Let go of all the air inside of you and go down there and hold that for just a few seconds. Take a deep breath in. Try to remember to do it through your nose if you can. And just feel how different you felt just from just 1 second ago, right before you took that big, huge, deep breath, right before you got yourself into that stance. There's usually a pretty big palpable difference between the way you feel as soon as you really oxygenate yourself like that, let it all out. When you push the bandwidth all the way to those extremes, you're showing yourself, hey, I can do brave things. Hey, I can love, I can make this a moment of self-care. I can lean into a little bit of trust right here. Here's somebody telling me that they've accessed learning what it's like to live an enjoyable life. And I can have the life of my dreams. Well, let me go back and talk about that one for 1 second, because I think it's important to mention that the mental model that I used to have was of this figure named Jesus Christ. Jesus Christ was this very, very, very sacred relationship in my life. And I considered Jesus to be the epitome of somebody who came here and lived this perfect life without blemish. And that mental model was what helped me actually push towards something that was better than my clunky ass self. And so I wanted some kind of a model like that to replace with. And it doesn't matter who you or what you place there, but identify with the idea that you really are moving towards a place of perfection. Why not? Don't you want to be like more perfect than you are right now, according to what you think you ought to be? Well, why not have a mental model there? Let's just call it, for right now, let's just call it perfect consciousness. I want my consciousness and my awareness and my clarity and my vitality and my abundance to be perfected. And that model inside myself, when I close my eyes, I can put that model inside myself and say, all right, I'm moving towards perfection then. I know I'm not perfect right now. Even though I feel like I'm enjoying all this, I know how clunky I still am. And I can look around and so easily pick out all the things that people are doing that seem like they're not aware of their impact. But that means I'm also not aware of my impact. And back in the day, I was such a lover at heart, but I didn't come into this world knowing the skill of empathy. All my empath friends that I've encountered over the years have been so instructive and helpful for me to actually hone in on the concept of, hey, what's it like to really truly empower my own empathy? And the reason we do all these things that we do here at Surrender Lab is because of this concept of empowering empathy, because we know that when we actually maximize empowering our empathy, we learn how to actually see everybody as our equal, and every moment is constructive. And I'll live with our teacher, we can be receptive. Now we have an inclusive worldview. Now we're all in this together. And we are all, for whatever your worldview is right now, I personally believe that we're all moving towards greater understanding constantly, that we are all love emerging. We are all light at the very center. And I keep pointing to right here, no matter what you've ever thought about where your center is, where your energy source comes in from, I've learned by going inside of myself that this is where the center is. It's right in here. And everything emanates out from there. And I've learned how to tap into the energy field that's within inside of me that I can push on the outside of me. All that's right here on the inside of me anyway. And you feel this big torus. You feel this energy field where when you're really willing things, you're pushing it this way. But if you just sit there and just let go, you feel yourself receiving the benefits. So when I go to sleep tonight, I'm going to lay there and rest my body, and I'm going to receive natural just healing. I'm going to go on a healing process. I'm going to be gifting myself healing just by being willing to go to sleep. Well, part of that understanding that I've gained is that I'm learning how to let all of my will push up through the middle of me, empower my empathy to see everybody as my equal. And now as soon as I see everybody as my equal, wow, all those pains and traumas that are on the inside of me, I get to feel them in a different way. They're not causing me suffering. I'm getting to ride those waves. So right now, we're going to practice going back down into that athletic stance, and we're going to find an edge. We're going to be brave enough to go and find an edge. So where do you feel it in your body right now, where you feel the most tension if you drop yourself down even a little bit more? Connect your whole body again. A lot of us carry a lot of tension up in our shoulders, in our neck, in the backs of our head, right back here, down in our hips, all along the back. Where is it that you have? Move your body around and find an edge that you feel. And now instead of actually just shying away from that edge, we're just going to approach it and we're just going to stay there for a minute. We're going to keep our whole body connected. Allow your body to tension up here. And now from this place of finding that edge, now we're going to meditate from there. Meditate in. Take your awareness to your breath. Every in-breath, every new inhale you take is like receiving new information. Every exhale you make is like releasing the old information inside of you. Inhale, receive the new. Exhale, release the old. Keep your awareness and your breathing connected right now. Your awareness and your breath are one. Now let's travel with our awareness and our breath to the tip of our right index finger. Take your awareness and your breath at the same time. I know that sounds funky. Just take your awareness there if that's easier for you to understand. Take your awareness to your index finger and don't label anything you sense. Just sense it. Sense any amount of your right index fingertip. And as soon as you sense it, take your awareness over to your left index fingertip. Now take your awareness to both of your feet at the same time. As soon as you sense anything, don't label it. Just let your awareness now move. Keep your awareness constantly moving. Keep your awareness on your inside of you. Imagine my voice is happening inside of your head instead of me being separate from you and outside of you. I'm happening inside of you. And you're listening. You're inside yourself. And you're traveling with your awareness on the inside of you. Now take your awareness up to your lips. The more you can match your breathing to your awareness and then match that to your lips, the more you're realizing that you're one big thing. And just sense anything you sense there without labeling it. And then take your awareness to the very, very top of your head, the very crown of your head. Sense anything you sense there. Don't be hard on yourself if it's hard for you to sense something there. Just keep on going until you sense anything at all, even the lightest little anything. And then just allow your awareness to move. Now practice for the next minute or so, just moving your awareness. I'm not going to say anything. Just move your awareness anywhere you want to on the inside of you, at any pace that you want to. Let's practice that for a minute. Keep yourself in your athletic stance and travel your awareness on the inside. Try to keep your body perfectly still while you do it. Now I'm going to introduce one more thing to you. Stay in that position. You can, if you're feeling like it's tightness that's building and it's too much on your quads, then come out of your athletic stance, stand straight up. And you can even drop your feet back down to a round shoulder width. Now point your feet straight forward. Relax the rest of your body. Relax your shoulders. Relax your forehead. Relax your arms. And I want to introduce something. This may seem a little bit weird at first, but from an effectiveness and the efficiency standpoint, I just feel like I have to share it with you because it's just so helpful. Trying to determine what I want to tell you beforehand. Just in a nutshell, the simplicity of it is what we are made up of. Just think of your whole entire body instead of just being like this physical body with just this outer skin, and think of yourself as a big huge pile of energy. And every single part of you, if you were to hook up a meter to any single part of you on the inside, anywhere, that meter would put off a frequency of a vibration. So there's a vibration attached to every single part of the energy that we are. And it's got a frequency of how frequent it is actually vibrating. So the line of some frequencies look like this and some look like this, but we are a big huge pile of energy, and we're vibrating. Just become okay with the reality that we vibrate, and if you were to hook us up to a whole bunch of meters, and you would actually see, and it would be perfectly honest to say, hey, yeah, look at that. I'm only vibrating at that level right there. I'm only vibrating at this level right here. I am vibrating at this. So we just become extremely honest about the reality that we're vibrating. Well, what if I could manipulate my vibration and I could change my state of consciousness and my state of awareness simply by learning how to actually tap into a new vibration? What I want to introduce you to right now, it seems kind of hokey, it seems kind of woo-woo in the beginning, but I'm going to show you anyway because of how effective it really is and efficient it really is. I don't care how long you've been meditating. If you haven't learned how to actually add vibration to your meditation, then you don't know what it's like to actually go a lot further, a lot faster. Right now, I'm going to, people have been talking about this for a long time, that the sound of creation is the sound of Om. O-M, Om. And if I go, and if I do an Om, then I'm making the sound of creation. That's hard to understand intellectually, and I've never understood it until I really started doing the very thing called Oming. Well, all I'm going to do is just vibrate. It doesn't matter whether it's we're going to just start with an Om, because of what it does for us. Go ahead and put your hands out toward the front right now. And just get a general sense for how your body feels everywhere. Put yourself back into a whole body connection and just get a general sense for how you feel. Now, make a mental mark of the way you feel right now. Just like, okay, it's like this. So we're going to come back to it whenever you want to, and you're going to say, hey, look what I just did and how it changed my state. It made me feel different. Well, if I just start to Om right now, it seems like I'm just going to be making this one sound. But there's so much more to it than that. And I'll tell you more what I mean in 1 second. But let's go ahead and do 3 times. Let's just make the sound Om. Om. And when you do this, let me stop and back up real quick. Project the sound out. Make sure you're not just kind of doing it really kind of like a weakly. Actually feel like you're actually projecting it out. So project right out of your mouth the Om. I needed to close my mouth as soon as I got to the M part because I was saying O before and my mouth was open. So I'm projecting, and then all of a sudden my mouth closes and I start going So there's actually 2 parts, 2 big major parts to Oming. And this is a really cool part of understanding how creation really works. Because we're all creators right here, right now. But we don't feel like life is happening for us all the time. Sometimes we think, most of the time, we think it's happening to us. So this is a way to start to understand that life is always happening for us instead of to us. And this is how to tap into self-healing. All the most beautiful parts of life. Love, gratitude, all the best things you can ever imagine feeling all happen right here in the present moment. So all we're going to do is right now is just tap into a vibration and presence at the same time. So we're meditating into our breath, into our vibration, and Om from right here from your center. Let's do it 3 times, and then I'll show you something even cooler right afterward about the Om itself. Om. Now you notice how where the vibration, where you feel it when you're going oh, sounds different and feels different on the inside of you when you're going When you're going the vibration for me, I go oh, and I feel it all here. I feel it up here as well, but I'm pulling it from right down here. And then as soon as I start to go I feel all the vibration going up into here. So I've turned 1 into 2 by making 1 single out breath. I'm saying I want to value 2 instead of just 1. So there's nothing wrong with finding out that we're all one big thing. But now what we're learning how to do is actually reattach to the idea that we're here, and now we're going to know that we can create something new out of it. So we can turn 1 into 2. We can take 1 cell and turn it into 2. We can take 1 breath and turn it into 2 vibrations. Let's try it again. This time we'll do it 3 more times. This time pay really close attention to the transition that you feel from the vibration going from down here up into here. And keep your mouth all the way closed, and the more prominent you do it, the more you'll feel these vibrations on the inside of you. Just relax here for a minute and just bask in the way you're feeling right now. Go ahead and ask yourself how you feel compared to what you did a minute ago when you checked in on yourself. If you're ever feeling anxiety and you want to get over it really quickly, there's all kinds of techniques for doing it. Lots of different things work. I was prone to so much anxiety because I was so forward thinking. Anxiety comes when I'm leaning a little bit too heavy into my future. I'm potentially worrying about something that might happen. I'm depressed when I'm leaning towards the past. When I'm just depressed. I'm thinking about nostalgically rehearsing some love that I used to have or some way that instead of realizing everything's all right here in the present moment. The most joy you'll ever feel is always in the present moment. You've never felt the feeling of love, full, true, pure love without being present. It was presence that granted that to you because it's what we came from. It's what we are. It's how creation started. We granted ourselves love. This is love emerging when we're learning how to self-discover, put up a mental model, move towards the kind of character that we want to build, and all of a sudden we're more clear and we're more aware of our impact on others. We feel like it would be crazy for me to ever not be my authentic self because that's where the joy's at. You deserve to be living here. That's what it means to become alive. Come alive is to live the life that you feel like you're meant to live. And it's unique. It's different from all of ours. And there's nothing wrong with it. And so there's no more need for us to beat ourselves up. And this is how we tame our inner critic. We just get ourselves present. We just accept everything as it is. We tame that inner critic, and all of a sudden we're not talking crap to ourselves anymore. It's okay. Everything's okay. Everything with me is okay. I'm not really broken. I'm not really broken. It took me quite a while of saying that to myself before I finally believed it, but now it's effortless to really believe it. I've seen plenty of people just do it like, oh, are you kidding me? Wow. And they just change right overnight, right? Because it's our prerogative to live whatever life we want to live. You're not a slave unless you want to be. You don't have to stay in your cocoon. You can keep on leaning against those edges until that cocoon starts coming off and we start to see how beautiful we really are, and we start to learn how to fly and live the kind of life that we actually want to live. And your uniqueness, we want it. We want all of your data, all of your unique experience. We want it. Collectively, we want it. We want to have more collective trust with you. We want you to have collective trust with us because we're all in this together. But at the same time, your individual story matters all the way. And the way you find out that it matters all the way is to learn that you're a me and a we all at the same time. You're a me and a we. And we break through that bubble by letting go of fear, letting go of any fears. We all of a sudden start to see with more clarity how we've been so defensive and triggerable, confused and muddled and cloudy, and all the reasons we said we were limited start to just fall away because we realize there's really limitless potential here, right here in the now for all of us. The more you want to get rid of your anxiety, the faster you want to get rid of your anxiety, can I just suggest that all you have to do is just start vibrating, any vibrations whatsoever. I was just sitting in the river, and my buddy Aston and I, we were down at the river not too long back, a few months ago, and all of a sudden I just started making this sound. Didn't think about it or anything, it just started coming out of me. It just got in the river, and this sound started coming out of me. I was like, zzz. I was making this deep, deep sound at the same time as a high-pitched sound, and it was all at once. I was like, wait, what is that? That's such a weird sound. And the more I did it, the more I was like, oh, I love this, the way it makes me feel. So I was in the river, and it's cold, but all of a sudden I'm not associating with coldness anymore because I'm too enamored with this little amusement park ride that I'm on the inside of me, in my internal universe, determining that I can make any sound that I want to. It makes me feel good. practice any sound, just practice vibrating and feel where you can feel it in your body. When you meditate, any meditation you make, any meditation you're doing, take and get yourself really present with your breath. Every new breath is receiving the new. Every exhale is releasing the old. You're one with your breath. You're one with your breath. You get really, really present on your breath where you realize that you're just observing the fact that you're kind of like sitting on a beach and observing your breath go in and out. But you start to become aware of the fact that you're removing yourself from body, space, and time. You're not associating with it in the same way. And so when people meditate, you really can go out of your body. Whatever your thoughts are on that, and no matter how woo that sounds to you, there's a lot of people on this planet that have learned how to do this. It's just a skill. You can remove yourself from the need to identify with the river as being cold. By going and sitting in the cold river, I found out that how to become one with nature. And when you become one with nature, nature starts to teach you how to access more clarity and vitality and abundance in life. And so I'm still just this work of art, just like you are, a work in progress, still clunky Ken, but I have an increasing amount of understanding that life is happening for me instead of to me. I can see you more clearly than ever as also full God status, full King status right before me right now. You can do anything you want. We're just limiting ourselves by the filter that we have built up so far. And there's nothing wrong with any of this. It's just identification with how limited we've really been, when in all reality, we've got all this power that we're not tapping into. And so, let me end by summarizing this way. When I learned how to go inside of myself and find the edges, and then lovingly lean against them, and watch myself become increasingly fluid, flexible, strong, all at the same time, I started finding out what it was like to connect with all my connective tissue, all my fascia, all that stuff inside of me. I started becoming very aware of it, and the feeling of what it feels like on the inside of me. As I learned how to tap into vibration, it accelerates the process. It's like an accelerator. It's like it's just an efficiency pedal. That if you want to go really present really quickly, you want to get over your anxiety right now, just start vibrating. Any way you do it, it's all helpful, but play around with it. And we can have another session sometime where we actually play around with different specific vibrations and what they can help us do. But for right now, just start practicing with that. And we would love here at Surrender Lab to hear from you and your story. And we'd love it if you would share it with any of your friends. Don't even tell them, you don't have to tell them it came from Surrender Lab. Just tell them, hey, I just found this new thing where I learned when I do this, it helps me get beyond this or that, or it helped me learn how to self-heal. It helped me realize that I really am my own therapist and I'm not really broken. And it put a smile on my face. And I want to just thank you for being what you've been to me. Because now I can see you so much more clearly than I used to when I was just judging you as a this or a that. I love you so much. I love every one of you. Anybody who's watching this right now, I love you with every single thing I have. Because I know you're part of me. And I know we're all connected. We're all in this together. And we can actually change our exclusive worldview of walking around thinking that we're right and wrong, good and bad, appropriate and inappropriate. And we can actually start to learn how to creatively play with all that space and see the ways in which we can actually help all the good and bad, all that stuff that's happening because of so many people who believe it. When we collectively believe things, that's what we collectively keep ourselves to. And I've never had more collective trust than I do now. It wasn't just but a few short years ago, I asked myself if I had any collective trust, and the answer was no, I had none. Which really forced me to start looking at everybody as a mirror and start seeing, hey, why is it that I don't fully trust myself all the way? And the more I've done that, the more I realize, oh, I wanted the purest of hearts. I want my heart to be so pure. And it's so pure right now that I love you. And I know that we're all a big, huge ball of light and love that is constantly emerging. Thank you so much for joining.